This video contains the destruction of trading cards. These experiments are not suitable for some audiences. Viewer discretion is advised.
As fans of card games, we all know that these small pieces of cardboard we love sometimes have to go through some pretty tough abuse. From rough shuffling and general wear and tear, to our greasy fingers from eating snacks during late-night gaming sessions. To our guilty pleasures. When we're at our local game store, we always hear players discussing the card quality of their favorite games. From complaining about drops in quality over the years to self-righteous players arguing that their game is better because their cards are harder to tear, or whatever. We came up with the idea of putting all the best card games to the test in a cardstock gauntlet. We are going to find out which card game has the best card quality by using some intense stress tests. It's true many of the cards we test today will not survive, but that's a sacrifice we are willing to take. If you feel like the effort we put into this was well worth it, you can support us on Patreon so we can keep making awesome content. For this gauntlet, we have 5 tests to go through, as some cards may be better at surviving some trauma more than others. Our tests are the curl test, where we will expose cards to the elements for an extended period of time. The bend test, where we fold a card over to investigate creasing. The rip test, where we see how much a card resists being torn apart. The water test, where we expose cards to liquid to see if they become mush. And finally, the fire test, proving once again that red is always the most aggressive when it comes to card games. These are the games we are going to be testing today. Sorry if your favorite game isn't on the list. Here's how our point system works. At the end of each round, the different games will be ranked by performance. The best performing brand will receive 7 points, and the worst performer will receive 1 point. Foils and non-foils will be ranked separately, and all points will be added up at the end of the video to determine the overall winner. Let's get started. First up in our gauntlet is the curl test. Anyone who's ever left out a stack of Kaladesh foils and later found them looking like the Gateway Arch knows just how bad card curling can be. For this test, we look at the foils from each game and left them out unsleeved for 24 hours on a table with a camera running. The room we tested in also was a little humid, which may increase the severity of the curl. After the 24-hour period was up, we checked on the cards to see which curled the most. We had a pretty wide range of results, with the best result being the Force of Will card, which had absolutely no sign of curling at all. To our worst two being Magic and Buddyfight, both curling to the point where they might not even be legal in tournaments anymore. Here are our results. Now we move on to the first test where low performance will definitely mean a destroyed card, the bend test. The bend test involves folding a card until its top and bottom touch, then checking the card to see if it causes permanent damage. This test also sometimes is used to test old Magic cards for counterfeits, though I would not recommend it. All we did for this test was bend all of the cards on camera, making sure to do so as evenly between cards as possible. Our results show that Yu-Gi-Oh! Has a real problem with bending cards, as it performed worse for both foils and non-foils, with audible cracking with both. Here are the results. Next, we have another straightforward test, the tear test. For this test, we will be attempting to rip the cards in half. Those cards that rip fully in half will get 1 point, which is considered a failure, and the others will be ranked on how well they resist the rip. Every single non-foiled card failed our test, proving there are some advantages to foiling out your deck besides having a lighter wallet. As for foils, 2 games completely failed the test, Vanguard and Force of Will, with Buddyfight being the best in show. Next up is the water test. For this test, we submerged all of the cards in water for 2 minutes and 30 seconds each to test how much each card can resist water. Even if your cards do experience water damage at some point, it isn't likely that they will ever be fully submerged in water unless you have a flood or something. So this should be a really intense test for these cards. Let's see how well they do. While all of the cards received damage, some were hit way harder than others. In particular, Bushiroad's card games Cardfight Vanguard and Future Card Buddyfight both failed this test hard, with the cards rapidly separating the two layers apart in a very interesting way. The standout here is Yu-Gi-Oh! With the least awful looking cards, though I still wouldn't recommend taking them to your next WCQ. Our last and probably most dangerous test is the fire test. For this test, we traveled outside, fire extinguisher in tow, to light cards on fire, focusing on the top right corner of the cards. We tried to keep the flames on the cards for exactly the same amount of time, but fire can be unpredictable, so there may be a small amount of variance with the results. Our results show that if you're stuck in the woods and really need a fire, you'd be better off burning your Vanguard deck than anything else. The damage the Vanguard cards received was much worse than any other cards, to the point you could almost consider them fire hazards. On the other hand, Buddyfight's cards more so melted slightly than burned like paper, and Force of Will cards seem to be made out of a flame retardant material. Now that we have all of our results and some great Instagram photos, let's go over the ranking. Adding up all of our scores gives us the results. Surprisingly, we have a tie for first place between Dragon Ball Super and Pokemon. Both games did fairly well in every test. Just behind them is Force of Will, which might have taken the top spot had it not failed the RIP test so poorly. Here are the final results. The things I took away from this test are, Wizards of the Coast deserves some real credit for Magic's spot. If you don't know, Magic suffered from some really terrible card quality problems during the Kaladesh and Amonkhet era. They have since really improved the cardstock, though it isn't the greatest in the industry. Bushiroad really failed these tests. Buddyfight's cardstock is really unique and offers some advantages, but it really struggles with curling. Vanguard's cardstock was by far the worst tested, receiving one of the lowest scores on almost every single test. Well, that's what I interpreted from the results, but what do you think? Were you surprised by the performance of your favorite card game? Are there other tests you think we should do? Or are there other types of cards you would like us to test? Let us know in the comments. Now that we've reached the end of the video, I'd like to thank these people for donating cards to be tested in this video, without which it wouldn't have been possible. These people are Dalton, Prom Company, Sonic X Jones, and Roxas of Malice. We'd also like to give a thanks to our patrons who support us and those who buy merch from our store. I'll see you guys in our next awesome video.